Welcome to the Wellness Amazon podcast. This is a podcast for highly sensitive people, people that have high intuition and are just in tune with themselves and the outer world. Come and listen to multiple different high spectrum subjects and just peek behind the curtain. But I warn you, once you peek behind the curtain, you can never go back. Have fun. Enjoy. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Wellness Amazon podcast. Today with a panel. Yes, we have three lovely ladies on the podcast today, and the subject is belly dancing. Yep, belly dancing is a wonderful subject, and I wouldn't know anything about it if it wasn't for Alia. She brought me onto this, and I'm very blessed today that Jenn and Eliza also were ready to jump in and really talk about their personal experiences, what it is all about, and why it is so beneficial, probably especially for females, but we're going to get into it. I apologize in advance. I'm a little sick. If you see me do my beekeeper's throat spray, don't mind me. Just ignore me. And so welcome, ladies, to the podcast. Super excited you're here. Very excited about this beautiful subject. I'm just going to start with Jenn. Jenn, can you introduce yourself a little bit, and how did you get to belly dance?
Well, let's see about me. Some people know me because I've spoken to you before. I do mental health professionally and coaching as well. But, folks like me have to keep our mental health together ourselves. And so I had a friend that I'd known since high school back probably like 2016 say, "Hey, would you want to go do this belly dance class with me?" And she showed me this picture. And the ad for it was really cool because it had dance bodies on it that I was not used to seeing. So this was for Fat Chance belly dance style, which is a very welcoming style for all kinds of body types and all kinds of levels. And I was like, okay, since this appears to be welcoming and like maybe I could go and people wouldn't stare at me, sure, I'll go do it. And lo and behold, my friend did not show up. And I was there by myself. But they were very nice, and despite my social anxiety and tears in the car several times returning, I just kept going and showing up until I got comfortable, and then it got to where I realized I was actually seeing benefits from it that I didn't expect that were spilling over into my life in other ways, and I knew I couldn't stop.
That's beautiful. And
Mhm.
maybe meant to be that your friend
Yeah.
didn't show up that day. Yeah. Alia, how about you?
Well, I grew up with a mom who belly danced. So my mom took her first belly dance class before I was born. So I think 1973 or 74, and in California. And then when she moved to Alaska, she met with other dancers, and they started probably one of the longest running dance troupes in Alaska, which is still going to this day. It's Daughters of the New Moon in Juneau. And so I grew up dancing with her, going to all their rehearsals, seeing these beautiful women of all shapes and sizes dance. And they danced what is, I guess, now known as like cabaret style. They danced Egyptian, some Turkish. And so, that was like my memory. Like people ask, like, what kind of music reminds you of your parents? And people will name all sorts of stuff. But for me, it's Middle Eastern music because that's what my mom listened to all the time. So I have so much of her dance regalia here with me now, from swords to canes to veils to everything. So those are my memories. And then different times throughout my life, I would come back to dance and I would learn about different styles of belly dance. About 15 years ago, maybe, I was introduced to what was then called American Tribal Style or ATS style, which for me was very, very different than what I grew up dancing and watching and being a part of. So I got to learn something new. And then I did that for a little bit, and we did some other styles for a little bit, and then life happens. And we got to Texas, and I think it was actually a post or a message that Jenn posted in a group we were both in, that she had a friend who was going to be teaching belly dance classes. And I was like, oh, sweet. That's amazing. I haven't got to dance in a few years. I want to go. And so I went and got to meet Eliza for the first time and learn about what is now called Fat Chance belly dance style, I guess I don't know if it's the same as ATS
It
or
is.
similar or yeah. And then I brought another friend with me to the next class, and she's a part of our troupe now, and got to meet some new people, and it's been so much fun, and it's a very different style than what I grew up with, but it's amazing, and we're having so much fun. So I'm just super happy to be back dancing again.
That's a rich history right there. That's amazing. So, Eliza, you're the leader of the group, correct?
Yes.
All right, let's go.
Okay, so my name is Eliza. I am a Fat Chance belly dance certified instructor. I've been a certified instructor for about 2 years. I've been dancing belly dance in general since about 2005, 6-ish. Time is weird. It's been a minute. How I got into it, I was living in Arizona at the time, and one of my childhood best friends had moved to Arizona too, and she wanted to take a class at the local community center. And so we had taken a Tai Chi class together, and we had taken a meditation class together, and then we decided, let's take a belly dance class. And there were 2 available, so we were taking both of them for a while, and then we ended up taking just one and ended up joining that troupe. That troupe was called Egyptian Cartouche, and it's in the Phoenix area, and it was led by Morgiana, who was one of the original belly dancers in the Phoenix Valley area. And I moved to Texas. I moved back to Texas, I should say, and wasn't dancing for a while just because it wasn't available in the area that I was at, and then moved up to San Antonio and got started really with Fat Chance style up here in San Antonio. And I've been doing this style predominantly since 2012, 2000, yeah, about 2012. And I got my general skills and teacher certification in 2023.
Wow, amazing. When people listen to belly dancing, and you all have alluded a little bit to this, that there's obviously different styles, right?
Yes.
What do people usually think first?
So a lot of times when you hear belly dancing, what the general perception that I've noticed is that a lot of people think it's exotic dancing or stripping or some other sort of sex work. And it's not, there's nothing wrong with sex work or stripping or anything like that. Like, that all has its place, but that's not what this is. This the style specifically that we do it has its roots in historical folkloric dances, but it's not much like, let me figure out a way to say it. Much like the rest of America, this style of dance is, you know, I don't want to, it's not a melting pot, but it borrows a lot from different cultures of dance. There's a lot of flamenco influence. There's a lot of Middle Eastern and Northern African styles. There's also a lot of Indian influence in this style of dance too. But back to what you asked about belly dancing in general, a lot of what people assume is what you see in the restaurants and what you've seen in Hollywood. And a lot of that it's glamorized for the camera. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so the style that we do, it's more about the group communication. So nothing that we do is choreographed. I like to say that it's learning a physical language, and we're having a conversation about the music that we're listening to with our bodies. And so you can do this style of dance solo, but it's best performed in a group because, like I said, it's all about that communication. What you're doing is you're learning these small little modules, and the leader is the person who is the front, the person that is the most front and the most left. And so that person, through hand signals and gestures and arm positioning and the turn of the head, a lift of a wrist, determines what moves the group is going to be doing. And we do it in synchronization like a flock of birds. If you've ever noticed a flock of birds flying in the sky and they're in that V formation, the first bird starts to move and then the next two and then the next and then the next and the next. That's kind of how we do it. The leader will do a cue, for example, bring my arm, lift my wrist. That means we're going to turn. Everybody else sees that cue and they know, okay, so the turn comes next. And we all just kind of rotate like a flock of birds.
Okay. Wow.
I think that's one of the things. What might have been our first or second class, Eliza was explaining that, like, it really is, once you learn it, a language that you can dance with people anywhere in the world who know this same language. And I think that's what really stuck with me because it is such a different style than what I'm used to. And I was like, I don't know. But when she said that, I went, oh, that's really cool. Because we danced a lot. Well, we did a lot of choreographed dances, but we also did a lot of free form, just solo. And, just kind of moved with the music. Like that's how my mom danced. And so this is a whole different kind of thing. And I'm like, maybe. I mean, it's beautiful, but. And then she said that, and I went, oh, yeah. I'm a communications major, so that gets me right in the heart every time.
Well, I'll say too, I love to dance generally. Just heck, even when I'm at the gym, I'm dancing in between sets and just kind of known for it. But if I go like out to like a little dance club or something, I'm throwing in parts of these moves because it's just a part of my own, life and vocabulary now. And on the language piece, what is super cool, every time I'm somewhere and I start dancing some of those moves, I will have another person come up to me and say, "Do you belly dance?" Because they know, because they've taken before. They know exactly what I'm doing. The rest of the people don't. But everywhere I go, and then that means that I sometimes, if they're willing, have a dance partner for part of the night because they'll say, "Oh yeah, let's do some of that I used to do." And we'll do that and we'll have a really good time. We don't have to know each other. We'll never see each other again, but we had this really cool moment while we were out dancing, all because we know this language.
I love that.
That is fascinating.
I'm not gonna lie, such a pivotal moment in my life was when I went to go get my general skills certification, and there were people in the class whose first language wasn't English. We had a couple of ladies flying in from Japan. There was one lady who was originally from Germany and had been living in America for a while. And later on, during the teacher training portion, we had each of them teach a class in their language. And because it's all physical, even though we didn't understand the words that they were saying, we could figure out what they were teaching and what we needed to do to follow. And being able to dance with these people that I had had very limited conversations with was just absolutely amazing. We could just get together and dance, and no choreography needed, no big discussion needed. We just put the music on and danced. And so something else that I do that's related to belly dance is I make and sell belly dance inspired jewelry. And this year, me and my friend who makes costuming, we've been traveling around the country to all these different dance events. And at several of these dance events, I'm meeting this group of people for the first time. And, we have our little belly dance parties where we all perform for each other. And a lot of times what they'll do is an all dance or an all skate for everyone who knows this language to get together and perform. This is this will be the first time that I've ever met these people and have never danced with them. But because we speak the same dance language, we can get on a stage together to a song that we have maybe heard 2 or 3 times and dance, and it's seamless because we all speak the same language. And while there may be some dialect differences like you have in English, the English that we speak in Texas is slightly different than the English that they speak up in New England. It's the same language, but there's regional differences, and you're going to have that with this sort of dance as well. But we're still able to, have a meaningful dance conversation in front of people, and people who know understand the magic, and people who don't know what's going on, they think it's choreographed. And they don't know until you explain to them, no, this isn't choreographed. We just speak the same language and can get together and make it look, it's magic. That's really what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about different influences and origins, right, about belly dancing, and you mentioned there's flamenco and there's other things of all the parts of the world. When we look at different countries and what they do, what does a dance have to entail and actually to be considered belly dance? What is belly dancing? Is there a little bit of a guideline that you can't call it belly dancing because it doesn't have a certain element in it?
I think this gets fascinating because I was at General Skills with Eliza, and one of the assignments that we were given was to watch a video of a particular group of dancers from the Middle East who were a great inspiration to our style. The creator used them. The conversation that we had the next day about it, the first thing she asked was, does that look anything like what you think belly dance looks like? And we're like, no, it didn't look like anything. What the people were doing didn't look like, I think, what anyone, especially like a westernized mind, would call belly dance. So I think that becomes like a really complex question, and I don't even know if it needs to be fleshed out. I mean, for me, I think belly dance is whatever you kind of want it to be, whatever's comfortable for you.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a really good question that I couldn't even answer. I mean, you see different styles that have certain aspects in common, and you can oh, okay, well, that looks like the hula, or that looks like Tahitian, or that looks like Native American drum dancing, or fancy dancing, or or that looks like belly dance. But then to actually identify what are those concepts or aspects of it that make you think that looks like belly dance, I think for me, if I saw it, I would say, oh, well, maybe the costuming, or oh, maybe the music. But even the music, you can belly dance to anything. Yep. Like I've danced to Evanescence. You can, whatever music sounds good and is inspirational at the moment, you can dance to. So yeah, that's a really good question. Now I'm gonna have to ponder that for a while. Mm-hmm.
I think that it's easier to say, I don't know. It's kind of like if you stick anything in hot water, does that make it tea? Because there's the actual tea leaf where you get your white tea and your black tea and your green tea from. I really like tea. I have a lot of hobbies besides belly dance. But but
Me too.
there's also like your herbal teas, which aren't technically teas, those are tisanes. But your general person is going to call it like, oh, chamomile tea. They're not going to say, oh, it's a chamomile tisane. Or, like, is coffee considered a tea? It's ground up plant matter in hot water. It's just, at the end of the day, it's all dance, and every culture has a dance. And I've seen so many different things mixed with belly dance. At this event that I was at last weekend, there was a duet performed using traditional Japanese style dance fused with belly dance, which was really cool because that's not something that you see combined a lot. And so they were doing a lot of like the fan opening and closing, and it was really fascinating and really cool because it was easy to pick out what elements were from traditional Japanese dance as opposed to what weren't, just because the posture and the ways of moving are so culturally different.
That brings me to the next point, because you just mentioned the fans and the Japanese style. Alia, you mentioned the hula, which is a lot of symbolism, right? It's telling a
Yeah.
story through motion and through fluid motions, which is then dance. Is there symbolism in telling a story in belly dance?
Yes, definitely. As with any sort of dance, dance is what the dancer makes it. I've done performances where I'm just dancing because I like this song and I want to perform to it, and I've got a fun costume and we're dancing and we're having a good time. And sometimes, it's a really meaningful song and there's a story that I want to tell, or there's a story that the dancer wants to tell. It it all depends on your audience, where you are, what you're performing, the type of event you're performing at. Dance is whatever the dancer makes it. Sometimes it's just fun, sometimes it's serious and meaningful, sometimes it's not. While there may be some symbolism that carries over between styles of dance, I don't think that there's anything that's like hard and fast. Like if you see a dancer do this in, the genre of belly dance, is that always going to mean that same thing? No.
One of my favorite things that I learned with Eliza and Jenn is FCBD, Fat Chance Belly Dance, is the gratitude we do at the beginning of each practice performance, because that does have very specific
Yes.
meanings. Showing gratitude towards the audience, our sisters we're dancing with, the earth we're dancing on, our ancestors and our teachers. Like that for me is really kind of the spiritual aspect, and also very much connects it to what you're learning in the spiritual aspect of like dancing hula or dancing clinket. Or
You got a call.
Oh no, right in the middle too.
I'll remember Clinket. That's the last thing that I heard from her.
Okay.
Jen, you wanted to jump into.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, I think certain styles may have certain aspects that do have an intentional communication of something. So, with our style in particular, one of the things that was drilled into my head by my first instructor was our arms are very rarely, if ever, down, because this style is about women being empowered, not about women being like play toys or not empowered. The way we use a sword, when we use a sword, is not to like be seductive. It's to be powerful. Like maybe we would slit your throat as opposed to give you a kiss, right? And that's even the whole thing behind like the name Fat Chance Belly Dance. It's, a guy might ask one of the dancers for something after, and the response is Fat Chance. That's where the whole name stems from. So for our style in particular, I'm not saying that other styles that have different positions are necessarily just trying to be seductive or just trying to be play toys, right? But this was just very intentional from our creator, Carolina Enriquez. Her thought process in creating this was that she wanted a frame of a very empowered woman and very empowered sisterhood of women. And so if there is communication there, I think that's like a baseline that no matter what move we're doing, that is there.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I remember Alia sending me a video where that was explained in the beginning as well, about the ancestors and the earth and that gratitude. And I thought, what a beautiful thing to do this right in the beginning to make sure we're not forgetting it. And it's that did remind me of, oh, this is like in the hula. Because I remember when we went to Hawaii, we got this very in great detail explained to us what some of those moves mean. And you weave it together and it becomes a story. And this is how they pass down stories through their generation. So that's a beautiful thing. And then, Eliza, what you said about not symbolism so much, but you give cues, right, to the rest of your troop so they know there's something coming. So it's still a very flowing synergy of movements.
My favorite thing about this dance style is not just the fact that it's communicative and we are constantly checking in with each other as we're dancing and communicating what we're doing. It's also the fact that there's a lot of trust. The person who is currently leading the dancing has to trust that the people behind them are going to do what they're doing and are going to follow along. Meanwhile, the rest of the people in your group have to trust that the leader is going to lead them in things that they already know or things that they can easily follow along with. And that's something that I try to do with my students is I will try to throw in a little something extra that I haven't gone over yet, but do it in a manner where they can follow along with me to, show them, hey, I might do something that you aren't comfortable with, but it's okay. We're in this together.
Right. Well, and outside of your comfort zone, we
Yeah.
all know that's what the magic is.
Yeah. And that's something that I really, that I think sets this style apart from a lot of other styles of group dance. That I've just noticed, like on TikTok and other social media, somehow I've ended up on line dancer TikTok. And what I've noticed with a lot of the line dancers is that it's a group dance, but it's still very individualistic. You've got people that are, doing just the bass dance. And then you've got these people that are doing a lot of extra stuff as with the bass dance. And to me, it just kind of, I don't understand why you would do a group dance with a bunch of other people, but still try to stick out that much, if that makes sense.
Oh, I can tell you why.
To me, it just kind of
I'm not trying to stick out. I'm just, it's layering. I'm that person. Turn the Cupid shuffle. I am like, extra. But yeah, no, like it's like everybody's going to feel a different kind of way about those different layers of line dance, right? And that's where I think, again, a difference like in our style, because we all know each other, right? We know the intention of what's happening.
Yeah.
Because like I've been at a place to dance before where there were people who were doing these extra things, yes, because they wanted to stick out, and that was very clear, and it made it very uncomfortable because they were like getting in people's spaces.
Yeah.
And taking over stuff, and it wasn't pleasant. Welcome back, Alia. But
My
yeah, we
entire
all
family needed me at the same time.
I just think one of the cool things about our style is that we're paying so much attention to each other as well as ourselves. So you can't be disassociating during that. You have to be extremely grounded and mindful of what's happening, which is good for you. But we're making space for all of that, right? That's like an intentional practice that you have to do. So we're always looking at things like spacing and energy in that moment. Do I need to back up? Do I need to move a little bit over here? All while I'm trying to execute the moves at the same time. And that's kind of a nuance that you learn over time. Once you get your base moves down, where you're not having to think, okay, move here, move here, move here, you move to that more mature dancer phase of, okay, and how do I accommodate this sister over here, who I know is going to need a little more space for this, because I've just recognized, oh, how did we get over this far to the stage? Don't want anyone to fall, right? We need to move. How can I help us do that? So you start thinking in group as well as thinking of yourself, holding these two things together, which is something I think like a lot of us can use more practice in. It's a great practice.
Making space for the individual while still acknowledging the needs of the community.
Yeah. It's a beautiful, energetic awareness too, to yourself and to energy of others. Alia, before you hopped off, you were talking about your last word, I think that I heard was clink it.
Yes.
We were talking about the symbolism.
Okay, so Tlingit is one of the many Alaska Native tribes that my family is a part of. There we go. And so when we were still living there and my kids were little and they were part of different dance groups, Tlingit dance groups, all the songs and all the dances tell a story. Similar to hula. It's very spiritual. They're telling a story of our ancestors. Well, it could be any story. They write wonderful ones. One of the ones that my kids, when they're very little, did was like the squirrel dance. And it was all about a little squirrel and his life. And, so it could be anything. And I think I was talking about gratitude, right? And how it brings what we do now, our gratitude at the beginning really brings things back. I think it's very grounding. It helps us to remember where we come from, what we are doing this for, who we are celebrating. And I think it all kind of comes full circle. I just saw a reel or something on Instagram where a hula dancer, he's Native Hawaiian, was talking about how please don't learn hula on YouTube. Yes, you can learn the basic moves, but you are completely missing the entire part of what hula is, which is not just dancing. It's connecting, with your spirit guides, your ancestors, the land. And it's not that non-Hawaiians, shouldn't dance hula. That's not it at all. But make sure you're learning it from someone who's really is a hula teacher and is going to teach you where it comes from and why they dance it. And I remember when I was little growing up, my mom was a belly dancer. My dad is from Hawaii. And my mom would talk about the differences between belly dancing and hula and how she liked her form of belly dance because it was completely free form. She would just get out there and dance, whereas hula is structured because it's telling a story. And she would explain the differences to me that way. Um, and I mean, for me, yes, there are those kind of differences, but for me, it's all about just that connection, that grounding, that movement, that it feels good in body, mind, and soul, no matter what kind of dance I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hula reminds me, and I don't know if you still heard that, when we learned all about it at the Polynesian Culture
The
Center.
Polynesian Cultural Center,
Oh
yeah.
my God, it was quite the speech and the long class, and then there was examples, and I thought, this is like American Sign Language in a dance. I mean, and
Yeah.
like what you said, you can't be freeforming there, because if you just start freeforming, you maybe forget to tell the story about the ocean, and then you're skipping to the birds, So that was very interesting, and I can see that now, how, yes, there can be symbolism, but also it's a flow state more in belly dancing, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me about two things. First, I want to know, what are the physical benefits of belly dancing? And then I want to know, what are the energetical benefits of belly dancing? So let's start with physical, right? Our body. How do we benefit from that style of dancing?
I mean, movement is movement. Any sort of movement that you can do is beneficial. About a little over a year ago, I got really, really sick and was having some mobility issues. It was more of like a wiring connection with my brain and my nerves than it was like an actual physical thing. But I was able to it was harder for me to walk than it was for me to dance, because those take like it's different brain wiring, I think. I'm not a brain doctor. I don't know. I just know from like, reading random articles and things like that. But while I was doing a lot of my own rehabilitation work, I found that doing some of, like, especially with my arms and my legs, doing just the dance movements, even if I was sitting down, helped me kind of rework that wiring and get it back together, if that makes any sense at all.
Yep.
We still don't know exactly what happened, but it was a weird situation.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Maybe it was because you were in your body and not in your head about that movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of mind-muscle connection that you get from this style of dancing. And I think Well, Alia, because we were in class the other day, and we were just talking about like a particular muscle that we need to activate when we're doing certain moves. And I know everyone in class was kind of like, oh, I kind of don't feel it, and how we were going over ways to kind of activate and feel that muscle. There's a lot of muscles that if you sit a lot or you just don't do certain motions a lot, you're really just not aware of. And so you don't know how to activate it like consciously. And being able to grow that conscious activation and that conscious, control over that to make it do what you want is important. So I think it brings a lot of balance because we do need to be getting all of our muscles some love. And this allows us to get some of those muscles some love that are not getting it when you're sitting often, which I know a lot of us just have to do because of how life is.
Well, and I know one of the friend that I brought from the second class who's been there the whole time now, she at first wasn't sure about coming because of rheumatoid arthritis. And I told her, if there's any dance that you can do no matter what your physical limitations are, it's this one. And she's like, all right, I'll try it. I was like, because we move our body in ways that it naturally can move. We're not learning things that are unnatural to us to physically do. So she came, of course, she fell in love with it. She's still dancing with us and doing wonderful. And I think that's a big part of it. It just helps us to learn, like Jenn said, where these different muscles are that we clearly are not familiar with and go, oh, you're there, but I'm moving in a way that actually it still feels natural. It's still fine. I'm not asking my muscles to do something that they shouldn't be doing.
Right.
And then we also, in the same class, we were talking about the feeling of like flow and kind of releasing some of that tightness and learning, like, no, okay, we're going to loosen that up. We're going to do some stretching. And it led into a conversation about emotional release and about, like Jenn said, they're all tied in there together, and about how working those muscles and working on releasing things emotionally and trauma and all that, it all goes together.
Yeah. And out of personal experience, I can say somebody who doesn't believe in the issues and is in your tissues. Oh, it is, baby. It is. I have had, sobbing things happening to me because there was an emotional release out of just one little spot in my body that somebody pushed on. And recently looked at somatic exercises, and I look at these and I go, this is in almost any exercise or dance or movement, whatever somebody does, mindfully movement. It's in Qigong, it's in squats, it's in the gym, it's in dance. But you just have to string them all together in order to have that kind of effect, I guess. But that is beautiful. And I was just having just a side note, a discussion about the other day about pole dancing. And how I am fascinated by pole dancing because I don't look at it from a dance perspective, because I'm more of the like Jenn, I like to lift heavy things, and I'm very interested in like paleo, right? How can we be more Homo sapiens cavemen, because we're structured still like a caveman, but we don't live like it. So how can we be more in touch with our natural being? And when I look at pole dancers, it's like, this is the most tribal thing you can do, because she is climbing a tree to get a coconut right now. She's climbing a tree and she's holding on to a tree. She's climbing that thing and she's using the muscles in almost a playful fashion that we do as little kids when we climb things, but we forget to do that as adults. And when I see these videos of the belly dancing, those are movements we forget to do when we're adults, because even when we go to the gym, we do very rigid movements, but it's not necessarily flowing and natural. So that, I think what you just said, nobody pushes themselves to pain during belly dancing.
No, we take extra caution in teaching, as I think really any dance teacher should, to be sure that we're offering accommodations for everyone to dance within the body that they have.
Yeah. And before we jump over to the energetic part, I have to say, I am the most uncoordinated uncoordinated person in this family. I still don't know how I learned to drive a stick shift, but I did. I am so uncoordinated. I wanted to play the drums when I was a kid. I gave that up in 5 minutes because I cannot do something with my foot and do something else with my hand. It doesn't work, right? So to me,
Yet.
when I did the belly dancing video, I was like, okay, I had to take the speed of the video and slow it down. Because when I do it in slow motion, I'm better at it, right? It's like I need belly dancing for dummies.
Okay, no, but
like,
that's so to your point, that's exactly what I did when I first started.
Mhm.
When I first started, I would put on music that had a slower beat for like our fast because it does in 4/4 time. I would put on a really slow 4/4 and do the movements very, very slowly. So you see how you're intuitively already
Yeah.
doing what you know you need to do to learn the dance.
Yeah,
Do you have
Mhm.
kids?
I do. I have 2.
How long did it take your kids to learn how to walk?
Well, one of them, it took about 2 days.
Mhm.
Skipped crawling altogether. And the other one, maybe not even a week.
Yeah, but it took some time. They had to crawl. They had to do the stand up thing. They had to kind of take a step, holding on to things. Like it took time. No one you don't learn how to walk in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Just think of it that way. You're constantly learning how to do things. Just because you can't pat your head and rub your belly at the same time right now doesn't mean you're not capable. You just don't know how. You
Right.
can
Yep.
learn to do anything.
Melina needs a drum set.
Yeah.
Oh,
Get
yeah.
you a hand drum. There's some great videos online for drumming.
I
Exactly.
have a panda drum, which actually, when you listen to my intro music, that's
Mhm.
me. I did that.
Oh, that's
right? And
awesome.
I did that intuitively. I was like, I'm just going to flow and do that. And but it is, that's why I love qigong so much too, because it's slow, or tai chi, it's slow, I can follow. And I remember when I was in 8th grade, everybody took dance lessons, but like step dance, the waltz and
Yeah.
foxtrot and 2-step and all that stuff. And I was the only one who's like, I'm good. Guess it's just, or like aerobics. I cannot even do Zumba, because if I'm in the Zumba class, I'm going to be disruptive. I'm going to be the one who goes in the wrong direction and runs into people. That's me.
Okay. You're learning. That's all it is. Zumba is choreography.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know the choreography. That's okay.
And it's fast.
Yeah,
It is.
Zumba's real fast too.
Yeah.
I've taken Zumba classes and they're fun. Do I know what I'm doing? No. This is like my 3rd class. I don't need to know what I'm doing. I'm here, I'm participating, I'm having fun. I'm doing what I can do.
Right.
Mhm.
And that is a great key point. What you just said is, and I know you're the troop leader. So I love that you said that as the leader, because I think the environment you're creating, if you create a safe environment where people can be themselves and can make a mistake and can do the wrong step or whatever and get that grace period to grow, that makes all the difference.
And it's like doing anything. The first step to being good at something is sucking at something. You can't be good if you're not bad first. Everybody's bad, my first belly dance class, it was a thing that I was in and that I did. Was I the best dancer? No, it was my first class. But, over the years and time and effort, and that's something that I think a lot of people don't take into account when they see somebody performing, is you're seeing the culmination of hours, if not days, if not years of practice, of workshopping things, of trying things, of making the costumes, of putting together the pieces for the costumes, of learning how to do the stage makeup, learning how to dance, learning how to carry yourself, learning to have stage presence. We're all constantly evolving and changing as human beings. Life is boring if you stay stagnant, and you should always be learning anything, no matter what you do. While I am knowledgeable in my field, I am not the most knowledgeable person in this style of belly dance. I'm not even the most knowledgeable person in the style of belly dance in the state, you know? Like, I can only be better than who I was yesterday. You know, I am my only competition. I'm not competing against anybody else. I just want to be better than who I was yesterday. And sometimes that progress is incremental. Sometimes, you make massive gains. Sometimes it's little itty bitty. And I think that there's, especially in something that is performance, not necessarily focused or based, but there is a lot of emphasis on performing. We're doing something that can be so visual, and just in our lives in general, there's so much focus on what we look like and what we are physically presenting to the world. And I'm trying to make a space where we're not focusing on that. So we don't have mirrors, and that's not on purpose, but I'm kind of preferring that now because it lets you focus more on what your body is doing and how things feel and communicating with the other people in the room, as opposed to watching yourself in the mirror and communicating with the mirror and with the people in the mirror and not the people that are present. Hopefully that wasn't too rambly. I kind of soapboxed for a second.
No, totally get it. Jenn, you wanted to say something. I think I interrupted you.
I think my brain kind of crossed over to the energetic side, and I got super excited. ADHD, right?
Right.
Hold myself back, not interrupt everybody. I think I resonated with what you said about that kind of fear of coming into dance spaces, especially when I was younger. I remember being in school. I remember them having a dance portion of PE, and I remember either taking a 0 or a very low score because I wasn't comfortable enough to participate, because I just did not have those pathways built of coordination for various reasons, and didn't have an opportunity to have those pathways built. And then you get into adulthood, right? And you want to dance, but you don't already have some of those pathways built. And unless you go and intentionally work on them, but you're working from a deficit, which some of us are going to have comparatively if we bell curve it, okay, are we willing to go be uncomfortable and do that? And so on the energy piece, for a lot of folks, when they show up to dance classes, they're really showing up to dance class giving a lot of energy to their inner critic because they've opened a door wide to that part of themselves. We all have an inner critic, and our inner critic is not bad. I don't think we need to label it as bad. I think we sometimes have unhealthy relationships with how we use it. Coming into a dance space to learn is not the place for the inner critic. The inner critic is for, we've been dancing for a while and now we have a performance and maybe I need to clean this move up a bit.
Yeah.
Not for, I'm brand new and I'm just in here trying to get used to being around people and moving my body.
Yeah.
What other part of myself could I call on for that? What energy am I not opening up to other parts of myself that can allow me to do that, rather than the inner critic energy? Because this is not the space.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into what you just the energy field, how belly dancing is beneficial to your mental and energetic health and not just physical.
I think, just coming from my therapy brain, right? When I'm telling people from a therapy perspective how to become more grounded and mindful, I tell them to integrate as many senses as possible, because if you're integrating as many senses as possible, you can't be ruminating and going around in circles about what happened with the kids or at work that day.
Yeah.
So that we're able to kind of clear that energy out and bring a new in. And for us with dance, I mean, if I'm having to focus on my leader, plus I'm having to focus on my hands, plus I'm having to listen to the music, plus I'm feeling these finger symbols in my hands, right? All of that's washing away. I'm having to be in the present moment. Absolutely. I have no choice if I'm actually going to dance. And that's the benefit that I see. even just whether you want a clinical perspective or not, that's how I see it, just straight out from that part of my brain. And I think there's something spiritual there too, at least for me, whatever we want to call spiritual. There's something that I think if you're really going to enjoy the dance, that you have to open up energetically to and allow to flow through you, whatever that is for you and however you conceptualize that, because otherwise it's just a mechanical thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
So for me, so there's this poem that I read, and I don't remember who wrote it, and I don't remember most of it, but one of the lines is something along the lines of, like, when I dance, I can't judge. It's like, I can't judge myself. I can't judge other people because I'm too busy dancing.
Yep.
And I feel that, especially when I'm dancing, like the first couple of seconds, it's like, okay, we're organizing and we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this. Or if I'm listening to a song, I'm thinking about, how would I dance to this song? But then when I get up there and I start dancing, I forget all of that. Nothing exists except for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And okay, I'm doing this. And now, oh, let's do this. And then we're doing here. It's like there's no thoughts. It's just that constant metronome of counting, 8, 16, whatever. And then just kind of, where is my body at this precise moment in time? And how can I get it to where it's going to be in 5 seconds? Like there's nothing beyond like the next couple of counts and currently. Whatever happened is already done. I can't do anything about that now. We've already done that step. It's already happened. I can't go, all right, guys, can we start over? Because I kind of like skipped the carpet a little bit and missed it. No, there's none of that. You have to keep going.
Yeah. Which is great because you can't dwell on it.
Yeah. And sometimes in class, you can talk it through while you're dancing. But especially if there's a performance, you're not going to do that. You just have to keep going, just kind of like life.
I think that's the beautiful thing that you see in people as they grow in dance, is that they will often show up in that space of, oh, I messed up, and having to announce it to the whole class, and getting kind of neurotic about the whole thing. And as they begin to experience a welcoming, loving space where that really doesn't matter because that's just a part of what happens, they can then begin to let that go. And so it's really cool to watch them grow, and it's really cool to watch how what energy we put in, that welcoming energy helps them change their energy over time. It's like this lovely kind of cooperative process, because we don't want that type of energy to take over our space. So we, as the folks that are more established in it, are going to do our best to, like, I think I remember from one of our performances, like our friend that Alia was talking about, she was like, I love when we circle up and I look over and you're just smiling at me, and it gives me so much peace. And that's like, I think that kind of ebb and flow in energy between more experienced dancers versus inexperienced dancers is kind of our job when we're more experienced, to give that security so that they can grab onto it in moments when maybe they're not able to bring it, because maybe their energy's a little bit low. I mean, imagine, gosh, I remember my first performance. It was all I could do to just sit there and just move my hips kind of up and down and stay focused and try to keep a smile on my face. I didn't have a lot of extra energy to do anything other than that. So being able to call on that energy from the group and be able to use that myself is important. And so, I hope that's what I, can continue to bring. And I know that's, as a troop and lots of other troops, I know that's like their goal. They want to be sure that they're maintaining kind of that homeostasis in this welcoming, comfortable, secure flow.
Yeah. And I remember probably my best memories of my mom seeing her happy and smiling was while she was dancing. I mean, she would light up while she was dancing. And after our first performance as a troupe, my husband, one of his comments to me that night was, "You looked so happy dancing." And I was like, oh, right there, right there. He's like, "You looked so happy." I was like, "That's what I always say about mom. same thing. And he was like, that was his takeaway from it. You know, like, oh, did you see where I messed up here? Whatever. I don't really do that too much because I'm like, we're all gonna mess up. It's gonna happen. So whatever. But you know, I'm like, well, what did you think? You know, I mean, it's our first performance, student troupe, and he's like, he's like, oh, I thought you guys looked great, but you just looked so happy dancing. And I was like, yay.
That's amazing. And there's so many key points that I want to just reiterate what you all just said. Number one, what I heard was that it's almost like a group therapy dynamic when we talk about self-compassion, right? You foster self-compassion in each other and hold each other accountable to, hey, it's okay. Let's do it. Let's keep going. And that self-compassion, that no perfectionism here, no negative self-talk here. We don't do that in that space, which is, that alone is huge. The second thing I heard was, we had Alia and Isa episode just aired, the surrender, right? The surrender to the music, the surrender to the rhythm, the surrender to the beat, right? The counting, the surrender to your body being in that flow and moving, and not to all the 5 million other things in your head. The funny thing is, when we talk about energetically, I'm a very visual person. This is going to maybe sound really weird, but I don't know, maybe somebody resonates with this. When we do certain exercises, and I'm talking about mindful exercise, really doing it for the purpose of exercising, to me, that's very corners. It's sharp. You have all these 90-degree angles everywhere, and you do these things, or you count, or even when you walk, you need a certain posture. But Tai Chi, Qigong, dancing, we do round movements, right? We don't have angles all the time, unless we do maybe robot dance, I don't know, but it's round movement, and it's flow, and it's more freedom in that, right? Because we don't have to, we're not rigid. That's where when I hear round movements, round to me is always soft, and therefore yin, and therefore like the feminine divine energy. That's what reminds me of. And square is more rigid and action and yang and masculine energy, right? So to me, I think when I, again, did this a couple of times when Alia sent me this video, I was like, oh, this really brings me in my feminine energy, because I'm in that round, soft flow, just like with Qigong. That's why I love Qigong so much. Or yoga. But even in yoga, you have angles. It's more rigid. What will you say to someone who, like me, brand new to this, right? Where do you start if you feel like this is something they want to try?
Well, I sent you the video. That's a fat chance belly dance style that I thought was great for a great introduction. So definitely YouTube it. There's all sorts of stuff on there. But I think finding a class nearby, taking that first step and going and getting the vibe from the instructor, from the class. Are they welcoming? If they're not welcoming, walk out, go find another one. But mostly they will be, and just try it and just see how it goes. And, give yourself permission to screw everything up and just to move and to be like, well, these people aren't here to sit here and judge me. So screw it. I'm going to try this move and just go for it.
Like, what's the worst that would happen if you go to class? Like, you can leave. You can, if you're not feeling it, you could just turn around and leave. Like, that was something. So I also do weightlifting, and that was like realizing that I can say no and just not do it is really powerful.
Yeah.
And like, even, and there's a lot going on. I've got a bunch of like chronic health issues too. So just being able to say, no, I'm not doing that, or just leave. You can leave. And if they get upset, whatever, is it going to affect you? Are you doing something to actively hurt them? No. If you're just like, this isn't for me, and I'm just going to quietly leave or just quietly not come back, then then do that, just do it, try it. It's like trying a
Yeah.
piece of food. What's the worst thing that happened? Oh, it's gross. Spit it out into a napkin and then you're done. You're not gonna do it.
Mhm.
Just do it. Why are you scared? Just
Yep.
do it. No one's gonna hurt you.
Mhm.
And if they do, hurt them back.
Mhm.
Like,
I, the cool thing about the classes to me is I think this is probably true of all kinds of dance classes. New people are in and out of there all the time. So no one's hyper focused on whether or not you're there. Like they're all focused on themselves and what they need to focus on, what they need to accomplish in dance today. If people want to get started for this style, um, Eliza, for the certified teachers, is there a list on
there is.
on a
It is
site?
on let me pull it up real quick because the FCBD acronym is also used for Free Comic Book Day, and there's a couple of
Yes.
other things. So I want to make sure that you've got the right website.
That's great because I can link that in the show notes as a
Mhm.
information page for
Yeah.
people to use and
Yeah.
go from there to find someone who is, like you said, certified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they can do the in-person, do the person that is that certification like Eliza has. Um, there is also FCBDU, which
Mhm.
is the online version that has lots of different classes and things, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Having said that, it's not the same as dancing with people live.
Right.
Mhm.
So I always tell people, yes, go learn from FCBDU, and please also go dance with people. A lot of FCBDU and a lot of the online stuff, which I know plenty of teachers that also do virtual classes that you can do. And you can even lead, like you can even lead a group. And you talk about terrifying. Try and lead a group with your back turned to your camera in your room and you're facing a wall.
Yeah.
You talk about a whole new neural pathway. But it's it's great. It's a good option if you don't have a way to dance with people. And then maybe if you really love it and you want to go get certified so you can get a group of people and begin to get dance together, you have that as well. But I'd say, yeah, you definitely want people who know what they're doing, not even just because you want to learn the moves correctly, but because you want to make sure that your body is safe. We don't want you hurting your knee because you're creating knee strain because you're doing a move in such a way that a teacher wasn't able to look at and say, oh, hey, don't drag that toe.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And no matter what style of dance you take, like I think everybody should take a style of dance. It doesn't matter what it is. Go learn line dancing, go learn, ballroom dancing, learn English folk dancing. Like dance is good for everybody, no matter what style. But also remember that the instructor's body is not your body. Your body is your body. So my body looks different than Jenn's body, looks different than Alia's body. So a move looks one way on me, it's going to look differently on Jenn, and it's going to look differently on Alia. So
Yeah.
don't get so caught up in, oh, I'm not doing that. It doesn't look exactly the same way it looks on them. Focus on how it feels in your body because that's the important thing.
Mhm.
Someone who is 5'2" and weighs 95 pounds is going to look different during doing the same move that someone who is 5'10" and 250 pounds doing the same move. It's going to look completely different just because body composition, one person might have a longer torso and longer femurs than the other person. So your body's going to move a bit differently. And as long as it feels good for you, that's all that matters. You deserve to move your body in a way that makes you happy. You don't have to love your body. You just have to live in it.
Well,
Yep.
and you can take as well without an intention to perform. I think a lot of people see our performances and they think, oh, that's too scary for me. You don't have to perform.
Yeah.
If you get good, you might be invited to join the dance troupe, but if you don't want to join the performance troupe, you're not obligated to. You can just come and dance for fun. You do not have to perform.
in your safe environment of your troop
Exactly.
or of your home. You don't have to be out and do that in
Exactly.
public. Yeah.
And no is a complete sentence. You don't ever, if you don't ever want to perform, you can just be like, I'm not feeling it. I don't want to. Okay.
Yeah. And it's funny how actually it's fascinating that is a reminder that good instructors, and Eliza, we just met, but obviously you're now in that pool of good instructors as well, because you do dance instructing, and then we have our jiu-jitsu instructors, my yoga and qigong instructor. All of these people have to do this constantly, again, with their students and reminding them about exactly what you said. You do not have to do it. Don't do it if it hurts. And no, you do not have to, at jiu-jitsu, you don't have to roll with anyone if you don't want to. It's this constant reminder of be assertive and put yourself first and respect your own boundaries and your own body and your own capabilities. That doesn't mean that we cannot strive to get better or to push if it feels good, but we don't have to. And it's funny that for some reason I have to constantly get reminded about that too, because I tend to forget. How many times do you like to go to your belly dance class in a week?
Well, we go right now once a week, but I would love to go more. I would love to be able to get together as a group and dance more 2 or 3 times a week. But of course, most schedules don't allow for that. But if we could throw in another one, although before leading up to our performance, we did twice a week for several weeks before our performance. That was awesome. But yeah, I would love to do it more.
Yeah.
I prefer to go multiple times a week. But for me, I think for beginning dancers, sometimes that's not really an option unless they do study at home. Because a lot of times a level 1 class isn't offered multiple times a week. So just make people aware of that. But once you level up, there was a time where I was taking 3 times a week because I was taking level 1, 2, and 3. Doing all of those. And that was a bit much. That was not a sustainable thing, but it was something I wanted to kind of level up a bit, and I did that. But I think 2 times a week is I like that. Like if and I know, Eliza, we've talked about that. It was, constraints, spaces and renting places and people's schedules and traffic.
This was amazing, ladies. This was really, really, really fun and very eye-opening. And I love all the takeaways that we talked about this today on how this is really a safe and very accessible movement option for people to find. And yeah, it's not what we think it is, because I myself had this image in my head of, well, belly dancing is always somebody shaking their hips and moving their belly muscles and, oh, I'm too stiff for that or whatever. And that's not it. My aunt used to go to Turkey to vacation every year back in the day and would always bring me these beautiful, essentially parts of these costumes that you could get there everywhere. But I had this as a kid now in my head that this is how they all look like, and this is what they all do, and this is the style for belly dancing, period, right? No wiggle room. And I'm glad that we had this hour of education today to give us the exceptional wide space that what belly dance actually is and how incredibly beneficial this can be for people to do. So I'm going to link the Fat Chance Belly Dance resource in the show notes, and I'm going to link what Eliza, what you're going to give me in the show notes so that people can find a good dance studio to maybe try it out. How do we say, don't deny it till you try it?
Yep.
So,
and if they're in San Antonio, they can come join us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. And I know this is obviously that would be the perfect trip, because I can only imagine how much fun you guys have together. I'm a little jealous.
You need to come and hang out too.
I do. We already said we have a lot of things for the next San Antonio visit. We have tattooing, going to all the crystal shops, and obviously I need to go to a belly dance lesson with Alia.
And we dance in one of those crystal shops. So That's where our practice is.
Yeah.
So it's perfect.
Okay. 2 birds, 1 stone. I'm there.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
Yeah, literally stone.
Yeah, literally. Metaphysical crystal shell.
Oh my God. This is wonderful. It's efficiency. I love efficiency. That's a beautiful thing. Thank you so much for coming on the show. This was so much fun. And such a good topic about energy. And again, an earthly thing that we can actually do that's not too woo-woo and out there to then ground ourselves and channel our energy. So thank you, ladies, for coming on the show and taking the time.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Find everything in the show notes, and I hope to see you again here next week, every Monday.
Thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope you enjoyed. You can give it a thumbs up, you can give it a review, you can share it with somebody you think might resonate with this. Have a great day. See you next time.